Commissioner, I noted that your reaction, you said that you found the judge's ruling offensive, for one thing. Are you going to change anything that you're doing now while this is on appeal?
Well, we're moving for a stay. Mayor Bloomberg has directed that. But the judge in this case has indicted an entire police department, almost 36,000 police officers for racial profiling based on what we believe is very flimsy information, flimsy evidence. The plaintiff's expert looked at 4.4 million stops. And out of that number of stops over a 10-year period, the expert working for the plaintiff found 6% to be unjustified. The judge in the case looked at 19 stops, and they could have been any stops that the plaintiff chose. She found that 10 of the 19 stops were constitutionally acceptable. So we believe that the formula that was used, which uses census data, is fundamentally flawed.
Let me just ask you, what exactly, for people that are not familiar with this, what exactly are you talking about when you talk about stop and frisk? What does that mean?
You're talking about the common law right, and indeed now it's statutory for police officers, their ability to stop someone in a public place who they have reasonable suspicion may be committing a crime, is about to commit a crime, or has committed a crime. Now, this has been codified throughout the United States. It's been supported by Supreme Court decision, Terry versus Ohio, and indeed it is a practice throughout America.
Well, when the judge says you're stopping more minorities, that's basically what she's saying. What do you say in response to that?
Well, we went to the Rand Corporation in 2006 and we asked this question: how do you determine whether or not there's racial profiling going on? They said that the appropriate formula to use, if you will, is the description of victims of violent crime, of the perpetrators of violent crime. And I can assure you our stops certainly comport with that. It's also ironic here that the New York City Police Department is the most diverse police department, certainly in the United States, but probably in the country. We have police officers born in 88 countries. Our police officer rank is majority minority. In our last 8 police academy classes, we've had graduates born in 50 or more countries. So we are, as I say, very much diverse, and we look like the city that we police. Now,
go ahead.
The losers in this, if this case is allowed to stand, are people who live in minority communities. 97% of the shooting victims in New York City last year were people of color, black or Latino. In the Bloomberg administration years, we'll say the 11 years, full years of Mayor Bloomberg's term, if you compare those 11 years to the previous 11 years, there's been 7,363 fewer murders. So, if history is any guide, clearly, those lives saved are largely the lives of people of color. And we're saving lives. That's what we're engaged in. We just had a Center for Disease Control study come out that said New York City has the lowest ratio of teenagers carrying guns than any city in America.
Do you plan... Are you going to do anything different? I mean, one thing she said was she wants some officers to carry body cameras so that these stops can be recorded. Are you planning to do that?
Well, we're going to obviously apply for a stay, and the appeal will go forward. But the body camera issue opens up certainly more questions than it answers. When do you have the cameras on? When do you turn them off? Do you have it on during a domestic dispute? Do you have it on when somebody comes to give you confidential information? All of these issues have to be answered. We have, as I say, a little over 35,000 uniformed police officers. The only place that this has been implemented is cities that are much, much smaller than the NYPD. So there's a lot of questions here. Obviously, we're open to meaningful, worthwhile recommendations and suggestions. There is a monitor that we coming in if this case is allowed to stand, and that monitor will have to make a lot of decisions as to the implementation of this pilot program.
One final question on something entirely different. Reports here in Washington are that you are one of those being considered as a replacement for Homeland Security Chief Janet Napolitano. Has anybody talked to you about that?
Well, the president made a statement, a very flattering statement, when he was asked a question about me specifically. But I'm not going to comment any further. I've spent some time in Washington. I know it's wise to keep my mouth shut at this time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. Enjoyed having you.